Welcome to Final Justice. I'm John Walsh. If you've ever been out of work, then you know how tough it is to make ends meet. What's worse is when someone comes along you think's going to help you, then turns around and cheats you. In 1988, Michael Marks was running a company called Overseas Unlimited. He promised thousands of job hunters high-paying jobs all around the world.
I sell them hope, I sell them jobs, and the exposure to jobs. We are not only not ripping people off, we are helping tens and tens of thousands of people who are thrilled with our services.
Federal Trade Commission investigated and shut his operation down. Marks went to prison. That didn't slow down his illegal activities. In fact, his time behind bars ultimately led to his rendezvous with final justice. Federal prison camp, minimum security, Lompoc, California.
Hey, Boski, when does making 500 mil mean you don't have to say excuse me?
The FBI says Michael Marks launched his next scam by using the prison payphone. Through his contacts, Marks leased an office and set up a company called Trans World Agency. The first step was assembling a crack sales force, an ex-phone sex operator, a part-time magician, a telemarketing pro known as The Machine, and this man, who we'll call Mike Wilson, to protect his identity. This was the ad job seekers read in papers all over the country, promising high-paying overseas jobs.
Yeah, we got positions in Europe, Australia. The Far East is very happening right now. In fact, I hear in Central America it's practically a gold mine.
Well, honey, I can feel your long resume in my hands right now. Tell Lorraine all about your problem.
Yeah, just think of us as a friend, okay? Yeah, now tell me a little more about your last job. Oh, that's the bad.
Oh, listen, I've placed people half as good as you. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's 100% guaranteed.
You know what class is? A good manicure. Being able to pay someone else to scrape the grime of the world out for you, it's what keeps us human.
November 1991, Trans World had been up and running for 2 months when a paroled Marks hit the streets of L.A.
What's this for?
Measures my biorhythms.
Wow. Where can I get one?
Isn't it remarkable and isn't it outrageous that this man, within a few days after he was out of jail and wearing a tracking device, which required him to be home at a certain period of time, was out performing the same scam?
And you and Richard are going through some very hard times right now. Am I right?
Richard had been unemployed for almost a year, and so we were feeling a little bit desperate.
That's why we're here. We want to help you. Think of it as an investment, Marilyn. It's an investment in your future.
Desperate people do desperate things sometimes, and this was, on our part, kind of an act of desperation.
Hey, let's face it, the 80s are dead, right? These were the 90s.
They promised within 3 months that I would have a job. You know, that they would send out my resume, they would massage it a little bit better than what I had, and then send it to these various companies over in Europe. And then they would contact me when they had a company that would hire me.
Marilyn, between you and me, I think you made the right decision. Now, where shall I have these contracts sent?
Michael! Michael! Here. My daughter, Courtney. Hi. This is a great car.
Ever drive a Jag?
No.
What you meant to say was not yet.
Thanks to Trans World clients, the FBI says Marks enjoyed a lavish lifestyle and perks, which soon included his employee's young daughter, Courtney. But Marks' greed knew no bounds.
I know Lynn. And Lorraine, no, you're not going to be sorry.
Things were not operating anywhere near his level of expectation. He threw his first fit. And this is something I don't think I'll ever forget.
Brazil is a lot warmer than Denver, huh? Now I remember those Denver winters. It's cold enough to freeze.
Hang up.
What about your kids, Brandon and
Hang up,
Ashley?
it's home. Go for the throat. The kill. You lost them. You blew the sale. You just cost me money. Do any of you morons know what this business is about? Closing! You get them hooked, you reel them in, you never cut them loose, grab a hammer, and beat their brains in. These people want jobs. They want hope. If you can't get their checks in my office, I have no hope for any of you. See that tote board up there? Tells me my number 1 sales. You know what number 2 means? Nothing. You want to be a success? You don't make friends. You make sales.
The FBI says Marks covered his tracks well. When customers called the Better Business Bureau, no complaints were on file against Transworld Shell Company. To avoid U.S. mail fraud charges, Transworld sent all correspondents Federal Express. And bank deposits were always less than $10,000, so the IRS couldn't monitor the company's money flow.
I knew it was going to be a money-back guarantee at the end of 6 months, and if we weren't in business in 6 months, how were we going to get people their money back? So we were going to default on the contract. Is there anything else needed to say?
The FBI says Mark strung clients along by sending out updates containing false information. Employees also devised creative excuses to keep the clients at bay.
Tom, I'm checking our computer for you now. Oh, look at that. Our database shows there's 50 new jobs.
No, what you got to realize is the country's like in a totally major political coup. You got to hang in there with me on
Let's
that.
go. I need updates on 6 more countries.
Can anybody give me any information on Thailand?
Yeah, tell them they got great food.
Great food.
Petroleum. We're building a new petroleum pipeline. They need new engineers.
Oh, that's good.
Yo, Machine, you're the best.
Yeah, Tom.
As the closing deadline neared, Marks bullied his staff more than ever, hoping to squeeze every last dime out of the scam.
My father once told me, service the classes, you sleep with the masses. Service the masses, you sleep with the classes. What I'm talking about here is productivity. Volume. Talking about why I drive a $50,000 Jag and you don't. Talking about what separates the haves from the have-nots and why some of you losers make me want to vomit with your ineptitude. This business is like a shark. If it doesn't keep moving forward, it doesn't keep feeding, it dies. And what I have on my hands here is a dead shark.
You're through.
Hey, I can do this.
I said you're through.
Michael, I think you're being a little rough.
No, not yet. Maybe we'll have you over to dinner sometime soon, Gene.
When we come back, learn how this con man...
The FBI says in only 6 months, Mark's company scammed more than 2,000 people to the tune of $1.5 million. After sucking all he could from his desperate clients, he dissolved his boiler room operation and disappeared. America's Most Wanted profiled Marks and his phone operator scam in February '93. The night of the broadcast, viewer phone tips confirmed that Marks had moved to Memphis, Tennessee.
He said he felt naked if he left home without $3,000 in his pocket.
He came on so bogus to us, you know, so crooked and shady.
I said, mark my words, I said, this guy is going to be on America's Most Wanted.
David Spencer's prophecy came true, and he called our hotline.
I had gone out to dinner, and I thought, well, I'm going to tape America's Most Wanted, because I never missed that show, never. And so I had come back, and I was sitting there, and I was watching it, and it wasn't like watching television, it was like watching a home movie when I saw him. And I was like, that's that guy that Jackie the manicurist did.
Well, I do a manicure on him, get him all fixed up, take him between his golf games. Big tipper. Because I said to myself, I don't like him, he's a good tipper.
Well, he would pay with manicures with like a $100 bill and say, I'm sorry, this is the smallest I have.
Marks wasn't as nice to other vendors around town.
You know, he comes to gets his clothes, and I look on the rack and it's not folded. And he's like, you know, they're not folded. And it's like, sorry.
I'm sorry doesn't get it with me. He said, the companies the businesses that he had in California, that if you ever said you were sorry, that he fired you.
Somehow, Marks found out he was to be featured on America's Most Wanted. A week before the broadcast, he abruptly moved out of his apartment. The night the show was on, the apartment building was evacuated because someone called in a bogus bomb threat.
We all maybe assumed that it could have been him. The person who called mentioned that the bomb was supposed to go off around 7:30, 7:45. It happened to be about the time that America's Most Wanted was aired.
Marks left Memphis and disappeared for a year and a half. The high-flying con man turned up in October of '94 in a remote desert town. Police in Mesquite, Nevada, were called to a casino motel.
Upon my arrival, I saw an individual covered with blood. It was evident that there had been something gone very wrong in this room, and we had blood, of course, all over the bed and in between the two beds on the floor, on the telephone.
That individual was taken to a local hospital after he described how he'd been attacked in his room. Police found no evidence of a struggle. The motel room was searched. Police found a wallet belonging to someone named Doug Hansen. They also found a note with an emergency number.
I told him that this individual was in serious condition and that we were trying to notify next of kin, described the individual to him, and he advised me at that point that this may in fact be his brother, and that the name of Doug Hansen meant nothing to him, but that his brother's real name was Michael Marks, and that he may be wanted by federal authorities.
Federal marshals were notified, and Marks was eventually escorted back to Los Angeles to stand trial in federal court on 8 counts of wire fraud.
Strangely, I'm very optimistic about the future. Even with all this coming down, I feel I can win. I think the success rate in the federal court system is something like, the federal court system wins like 98% of the time or something like that. I hope to be one of the 2%ers.
Marks called that one wrong. The judge sentenced him to 10 years in prison, a very stiff punishment for a white-collar criminal, and there is no possibility of parole. Now that's final justice.
Next on Final Justice.
Introducing Big Border Taco at just 99 cents. We added more beef, more cheese, tons more crunch. In fact, the Big Border Taco's so big, we had to beef up our trucks.
There's nothing ordinary about it, Taco Bell.
Before you call it...
The brutality of this next story is awful, so I definitely want to warn you. In Oklahoma, a teenage girl's life was nearly destroyed, but the man to blame found out that there's no escape and no mercy when it comes to final justice.
Who do you think you are?
It was the summer of 1991 in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. 15-year-old Jerry Kennedy and her friends hung out at her apartment complex pool, enjoying lazy days in the sun. So did ex-con Terry Hart, his girlfriend Peggy Carruthers. But for Carruthers, life wasn't so carefree. Peggy was afraid of Hart's growing abuse, and she was planning on leaving him.
I trust you now.
She celebrated with a friend on September 21st, 1991, the day she finally moved out. But the partying was cut short.
Yes, it'll be fine, yes.
We're going home.
Maybe you are, but I'm not.
Hey, we don't want any trouble.
I'll be back. I'm going to go call Melissa.
A short time later, Jerry Kennedy left her mother's apartment to make a telephone call.
Have you seen Peggy?
Sorry, mister. Don't know any Peggy. I better be going.
Give me a kiss.
Listen, mister, I have to go.
Sweetheart, you ever been raped or killed before?
He started punching me, and he grabbed me by my hair and started dragging me through the parking lot. And he dragged me behind his apartments, and he dragged me by my hair to a creek, and he threw me down in it. So I started running down the creek, and I fell. I was trying to fight him, trying to get him away from me. You know, I tried to do everything, but it seemed like nothing could stop him. He put my face in the water. You know, I tried to grab his hair. I tried to, pinch him. If I did anything to him, it made him more mad at me, made him beat me more.
Police say Hart brutally beat, raped, and tried to kill Jerry Kennedy. But miraculously, she got away, made it back to her apartment complex.
7 o'clock.
I opened the door and could not believe what I saw. It did not even look like Jerry. She was beat beyond recognition, and blood all over her face, and this guy had a hold of what she had left, just dragging her away.
Let go! She's my wife! My daughter!
He just let her drop and turned around and started to walk off. Not running, just started to walk off like it was nothing.
He acted like it didn't even faze him what he did. You know, he just acted like, I don't care.
Police say Hart made his getaway in a gold Pontiac Trans Am. He abandoned the car a few days later in Jacksonville, Indiana. Eventually ended up in Nashville, Tennessee. Using the name Mark Warren Hart, he tried to start over. In June, Hart changed his name again to Justin Botkin, took a job in Nashville. Hart lived here at the Continental Apartments in Lebanon, Tennessee, with his bride of 3 weeks. But a television promo on August 4th ended the honeymoon.
Fear stops most rape victims from reporting the crime.
When I saw Jerry, I remember Terry had abused me.
He had watched the preview of America's Most Wanted, and he knew he was going to be on it. The wife, she went out to get pizza, and while she was out, she thought she'd do some more shopping. So she returned home around 8:40 to find that he had left a note indicating he was going to take his life. I arrived and was greeted by ambulance personnel who told me that my officers were right up there ahead of them and with a dead body.
In his suicide note, Hart said he was sorry. He said he'd prayed not to bring shame on his new wife or her family, and he requested he be buried here at the Smith County Memorial Gardens. His last request was granted in a small ceremony on Saturday, September 5th, 1992. Back in Oklahoma, Hart's ex-girlfriend, Peggy Carruthers, wasn't surprised.
He'd been in prison before, but he never had those charges of rape and a child. And that's not very good charges to have. Plus, he told me he would never do time again. They'd either have to take him or he would, commit suicide.
But suicide is not the ending sought by Jerry Kennedy.
Well, kind of, he's dead. It's over. But then I look, it's not over. It's not over by a long shot. It was a cop-out. It was an easy way out.
There's nothing I want more than to bring fugitives to justice, but I never like to see it end this way. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
When we come...
6-year-old Jamaica Porch was kidnapped from her home in Chattanooga, Tennessee on August 14, 1994. Jamaica's grandmother checked on Jamaica at 2 a.m. before falling asleep. When her grandmother checked on her again at approximately 7 a.m., Jamaica was gone. Police say the abductor entered the family's home by breaking in through the back door. Jamaica has hazel eyes, but they often change colors. If you know anything about Jamaica's whereabouts, please call 1-800-CRIME-TV. Someone must know something about this case. If you do, please.
The 1996 Chevy 4-door